What are the basics for success in new home sales? I get that question a lot. I'm going into my fourth decade in the business. And what I'm going to share with you today are some common things that I've seen with all the top professionals I've had the privilege to work with, or in some cases compete against. These are some broad areas that can be discussed in depth, individually, but I kind of want to go over them because I think that it's important when you set up the framework of what it's going to take to be successful, not just for the short term, but for a long-term career. I think you may find these helpful. The first one I want to talk about is your role. The public tends to view many salespeople with suspicion, to say the least. And a lot of that is earned because many sales professionals or salespeople, I hesitate to call a lot of them professionals, are strictly basically what I call kiosks. They point and here's the price, here's the discount, this is standard, this is an option, but they really don't have much more to add past that. The role you need to work towards is becoming the trusted advisor, or what I call the expert. It's very much like when you go to see a doctor, if you go to see a CPA, you go to see an attorney, anybody that has a professional designation, you expect a level of competence that's well above yours, much more than just the pointing out things that you can already see. So that means a lot of intensive work on your part in terms of everything from learning the community, the surrounding areas, your competing communities, your product, your floor plans, the options and the variations that can go within the floor plans. The same thing with your competition's plans. In other words, knowing everything inside and out to where you can share information that's relevant and beneficial to the buyer. This also includes becoming an expert on the financial area, how mortgages work, what the benefits are to certain mortgages and how they work. It doesn't mean you have to process their loan, but understanding enough to where you can share the relationship of monthly payments and interest rate effects on those, so forth, to where you can talk on a level that they're not used to seeing from the competition. I found through the years that the top people are able to delve into areas and share information that the competition is not doing, setting themselves apart and building trust as someone that customer is willing to put the biggest investment they're ever going to make in their life in, to trust them with helping them with that transaction. So again, working towards that and really becoming the expert is an absolute must. Number two, goal setting. There's a lot of books and things out there on goal setting. I think if you're first starting in the business, I think you need to focus on short-term goals initially. And what I always recommend is let's set up a 3-month goal, a 6-month goal, and a year from now. And then maybe if you want to go a little farther out, 3 years from now. And the idea is when you set these goals, they need to be not only realistic, but you have to have a game plan as to how you're going to reach that goal. Now, and for most salespeople, it's a financial goal. So if I want to make X amount of dollars over this period of time, it can't be just I want to make $100,000 this year. You have to go down and break it down. What's my average price? What's my availability of home sites, specs, whatever it might be? What are my traffic patterns? For instance, if I know that I'm going to see somewhere between, I need to see 10 to 12 prospects a week in order to attain that goal, and I'm only seeing 6 or 7, how am I going to generate the additional traffic to get there? Now, when and you need to track those goals as you go along. Where are you at in the process? One of the things that I think it's important when you first start in the business, or you go with a new builder, or for that matter, even if you go to a new community, there is a ramp-up period. You control a lot of that as to how quickly you delve into learning the information and really developing your knowledge about the area, because let's face it, once you have the knowledge, well, the knowledge is not the power. The power is knowing how to use that. But you have to get it first. So that can help ramp you up and get you moving towards your goals that much more quickly. Excuse me. The next thing is excited and confident. You need to be, when somebody comes in the door, you need to have a smile on your face, stand up straight, look them in the eye, and be genuinely excited that they've come into your model home. Those of us that went through the last several years, from about 2008 through about 2011, we were genuinely excited when somebody came into the office. But we need to reflect that to the customer. This doesn't mean you have to be like Ren and Stimpy and just jumping on over and be something disingenuous. But I think it's important that there's a smile on your face and you're genuinely excited to be able to meet them and to be able to start interacting with them to help them towards the purchase of a new home. Body language is important, but I think a lot of times we need to check our own internal mindset, if you will. Maybe ramp it up just one notch above where we think we are. This also means you can't bring a bad day with you when a customer walks in the door. If you had a bad night at home last night, or maybe a little hangover from the night before, you can't bring that to the office the next morning. When they walk in the door, you're on, and you have to have that opportunity to be genuinely excited and be confident when you do it. In other words, that you're the expert, you're there to help them out, and you're genuinely excited. But that time, that first few seconds when that customer comes in the door is critically important, and your attitude and how you greet them and how you talk with them, how you handle yourself, is going to set the stage for the entire process. Another one that's really critical, and this is a huge problem in this industry, and I see it with sales counselors that fail. And I like to say you need to internalize, don't externalize. Externalizing are things like, oh, our prices are too high, they have better incentives, the competition has better floor plans than I do, our tax rate's too high, these schools aren't as good as another school district, I don't have enough specs, my buyers, all they want is big discounts and I can't do that. All those things, and there's a million of them. That's externalizing. If you're going to be successful in the business, understand one thing. There is no perfect community. There is no perfect floor plan. There is no perfect competitor. You're not perfect. Nothing's perfect. Every buyer is different in every situation. But how you approach it when you are challenged with whatever it might be, how you approach it is, how am I going to either overcome this or build it into a benefit to the customer? In other words, not what is wrong with it, what am I going to do to make it a benefit or to, if nothing else, overcome it? That's a mindset, because just externalizing, just stating the problem and about something that is not going to change or that you have no control over, all it's going to do is drag down your attitude. When you take control and say, here's how I'm going to work on it, maybe it's with you, with your partner, with your sales trainer, with other professionals in the business, it gives you power. It gives you the ability not only for that particular situation or community you're in, but as you move forward in your career, you realize, hey, I can overcome anything. And I'm going to find the bloom on this rose in this community, regardless of the things that maybe in the past have not been perceived that way. So learn to internalize. The next one, dress for success. And when I walk in and somebody is going to spend $250,000 or $500,000 or whatever on a new home, they don't want to deal with a slob. They want somebody that looks professional. Depending on your builder dress code and so forth, if you're going to be follow that. If you're wearing a shirt, make sure it's ironed. Make sure it looks professional. Make sure it's not stained or worn out. Ties, Same thing on slacks. Are they clean? Shine shoes. Ladies, again, dress appropriately. Wear professional dress and so forth. That will help build your image as a professional, as a trusted advisor. For instance, if I was in a legal situation and had an attorney representing me in court, I don't want him in there in jeans and cowboy boot with a golf shirt on. Not unless he's some famous guy that I could never afford anyway, that's his MO. So again, think about that when you go to work. Hair clean, hair trimmed, etc. These are all things that do make an impression on people. Come in at least 30 minutes before you're supposed to open the model home. At least 30 minutes. Why do I say that? That kind of ties into the next one, is becoming a community and model home fanatic. Now, the reason I say that is that many sales counselors, we tend to take the approach that, well, the model home, all I have to worry about is what's in the model. But when you take ownership of your community, and by that I mean that you treat the entire community as your store, as if you owned it, if you were funding it, as if your financial livelihood long-term was dependent on that, which in many ways it is that when you drive through that community in the morning, you want to, before you ever go to the mall, drive through, check your signage. Is it straight? Is it clean? Look at the job sites. Open up, if you have homes that are spec homes that are finished, go in and look at them. Open them up, go in and look around. Did anything happen in there last night? Because I want to know, if I bring a customer out later on in the day, what to expect when I get down there. But when you do that, it gives you a chance to take notes, to get a fresh look before you go into the model home. Same thing when you get to the model. If you get there a few minutes early, it gives you a chance to get all the lights turned on, get things like your office set up. If you need to log in the computer and do some work, you can do that to where when opening time comes and the models are supposed to be open for business, that you're ready to greet anybody that walks in the door. The model home and community fanatic, I can't emphasize that enough. One of the things that we take for granted quite often is that, well, it's the model and the painters will come through and touch it up next week, and it's pretty clean, that kind of thing. We tend to get used to it because it's our office. We go in there day after day. Keep in mind, when we have a prospect that comes out to our model home, they're expecting to see a new home, just like we finished it yesterday. Not that we may have been in that model a year or two, who knows. But the idea is it needs to look fresh and brand new. These are things like keeping the front porches. Are they all swept off? Are there cobwebs? Are there burned out light bulbs in the model? On the back porches, did it rain last night and wash mulch all over it? Even down to your kitchen sinks, if they're like, for instance, stainless steel. Are there spots in it? Things like this. You don't want to have that kind of thing. You want everything to be as tight and as new looking as possible, because the idea of the model is to create the future promise of what could be for the buyer. They can see spots in their sink and cluttered cabinets and dirty porches at their own home that they're trying to get out of. So keep that in mind. You cannot be too detail oriented on the maintenance of your model home and your community. Value your time. One of the things that I think a lot of sales professionals, when they first get started, I'll hear, oh, I want to make $100,000, or I want to make $200,000 a year. Well, what they don't realize is that you can't do that by selling 1 or 2 homes a month. You're going to develop a backlog. And when you start carrying, it's one thing to manage 1 or 2, 3 buyers on the books. It's another thing when you're carrying 12, 15, 20 customers on the books, because each and every one of them considers himself, and rightfully so, the most important client that you have. And frankly, they don't really care about your other clients. All they care about is their home, their big investment, and everything being perfect, the process, and their concerns along the way. So you have to learn how to manage and value your time. Part of that's setting expectations about when you sit down and you initially do the contract, letting them know exactly what's going to go in the process, how long it's going to take, what to do if they have a concern, what you're going to do about it, and then following through on that, making sure and addressing these things, letting them know maybe some things that they're required to do. For instance, if your contract states you need to have made loan application within 5 days and have at least a conditional approval within 30 days, you need to tell them that now, right up front, not to where they can 2 weeks later, well, I'm still looking for a mortgage company and so forth, because that's where you cause conflict. Being able to set those expectations. Another thing I would encourage you to do is not meet with buyers on the books on the weekends. Why? That's when most of your traffic comes in, your opportunity to sell. Very easy to do that. If you would tell the client is, look, now if we need to meet on the home, the best time for us to do that is during the week, so I can give you the undivided attention that you deserve. And again, now that may mean I've had people say, well, I can't get out there till 7:30 on Tuesday nights. Fine, I'll stay around. We'll meet at 7:30 on Tuesday nights. The reason I say this, if you're going to be successful and run the big numbers, if your time is taken up every Saturday and Sunday by prospects coming in with some question about their granted or an option or something at their home, and your time is all tied up with them while customers are going in and out, once again, you're losing the ability to sell homes, which is your number one priority, but number two, to maximize your value to the customer, because you're distracted, and if they feel like they're not getting your undivided attention, they get frustrated as well. So learn to set expectations, value your time. That includes, if you have days off, take the day, at least one of the days, take it off. Be away from it. If you get into the habit of being there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, whenever everybody wants you, you will burn out in this business. So trust me on this. Value your time. Set your expectations. I don't think any of you could get up right now and walk over, get in your car and drive to your doctor's office or lawyer's office and say, just walk in the door and say, I want to see old Bob. Right? No. Well, why should we set that expectation with our customers? It's okay. It's part of being a professional, and people will respect you for it. The last thing is always be learning. That's part of New Home Star. It's part of, all these new sales books come out. I'm constantly reading these kind of things, but I think it's important that we're always looking for ways to get better. One of these things is read a newspaper. I'm shocked at how many people that I ask, do you read a newspaper every day? And how very few actually do. If nothing else, it's just being up to date with what's going on in your market, what's going on that could affect our business, whether it be directly real estate, it could be financial news, it could possibly affect interest rates, or maybe new things going on with the federal government, HUD regulations or whatever. Hey, if nothing else, just being able to talk about the local sports teams, just in terms of conversation when we're building that rapport with our customer. But this is something that you should take not only for your own benefit, but as a benefit as a professional. How can you be a trusted advisor? How can you continue to grow and move with the market and learn a lot of the new techniques if you're not looking for ways to get better? And that means always be learning. But I strongly encourage you to, if nothing else, at least get a digital newspaper. I don't care what it is. I mean, here in Houston, I take the Houston Chronicle. I've got a $200 a year Wall Street Journal subscription online that I read every morning. Now, do I read it cover to cover? Of course not. But I do look for critical articles or things that might draw attention or be relevant to my business, or something I could share with a customer that they may or may not know about. So again, this is kind of a broad overview of common things that I've seen top professionals that they all display. And just a real quick review. Become the expert, become your trusted advisor, the trusted advisor to your customer. Set goals. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3-year goals. Set those, track yourself, and be realistic and work towards the little things, the small steps it takes to attain those. Be excited and confident when a customer comes in. Work on that. Maybe if you have a partner, have them watch you and give you feedback on that. But check your energy level on that. Learn Learn to internalize, don't externalize. In other words, we've got to learn to internalize issues, don't externalize them. Dress for success, look professional. Come in 30, 45 minutes early before you're supposed to be in the model home to give you a chance to drive your communities, check your homes, make sure your store is ready for business. Become that community and model home fanatic. I want everything tight. I want everything clean, pristine. I want it to look like that brand new home that I'm hoping that prospect will purchase from me that day. Value your time. Allow yourself to be successful. Set expectations with your customers up front. Continue to reinforce those expectations, but also enforce those expectations on yourself to where you can have a long, successful career in this business. And last of all, always be learning. Always be learning. Whatever you pick up, I don't care how long you've been in the business, there's always something more to learn. There's always one neat little line somebody's using that you can make your own. Hope this helps you out. Thank you.